Hey there everyone, Kodandi here from the beach still. And I have such an important topic that people come and want to talk to me about ego death. And they claim they want ego death. And I think there's a lot of confusion about what ego death really is. So what ego death really is, it's a psychedelic experience. It is an experience that happens on psychedelics such as LSD, where you lose a subjective sense of the individual self. And so there's no longer a sense of I, but rather, sort of a vague sense of, being, but without, a concrete sense of self as an individual being. So there's still an awareness, but there's there's a loss of the boundary and the sense of an individual self separate from whatever else it is that you're experiencing. Now this is entirely a psychedelic experience, and people come and talk about wanting ego death from a spiritual perspective, but they're really kind of, I think they're just confused. I hope they're just confused, because if what you want is the experience of ego death, go have some psychedelics and experience that. This psychedelic experience is not the spiritual experience. I don't know how many times I have to say this. The psychedelic experience is not the spiritual experience. The psychedelic experience is entirely in your own head. It is a psychological experience. Spirituality exists on a level higher than psychology. It exists in the non-mechanical parts of the brain. And, this is something that I think a lot of people don't understand, because the only sort of, altered states of consciousness that they ever experience are through the use of psychedelics. And, psychedelics are what they are. If you want to go see a movie, you go see a movie. If you want to experience psychedelics, go experience psychedelics. If you're looking for a spiritual experience, you're not going to get it from LSD, because LSD is not operating on the same level that spiritual experiences are happening. And don't even start with me. Don't even start with me, because I have been through this with so many people for so long. I have known so many psychonauts and people that insisted that, whatever, they were having some spiritual experience when they took LSD. And what makes me so certain about this is that I was having spiritual experiences. I had a Satori experience long before I ever did psychedelics. And so in my mind, there was never any confusion between what is a genuine spiritual experience, that a genuine sense of, the dissolving of the self and the connection to the cosmos, something that I experienced without the use of psychedelics long before I used psychedelics. And then the psychedelic experience where, you're really entirely in your own head. And I have had some good trips, don't get me wrong. I have also had good trips from migraine aura. I'm not kidding. That, I used to have really severe migraines, and I would get a type of migraine aura called Alice in Wonderland syndrome, where I would have out-of-body experiences, and I would have experiences that were like ego death from migraines, from just my own bad wiring in my head. And so both of these experiences, like the migraine aura, Alice in Wonderland syndrome, and the psychedelic experience, were absolutely nothing like the Satori experience, and they are absolutely nothing like the third eye experience. That now I've progressed to a point where I'm using the third eye, and it's beyond the brain. It is beyond psychology. It is just beyond anything that you can comprehend with, that mushy part of your brain. And this is something that I think people just aren't getting, because they they don't realize that there's so much more out there, and that's, part of what society has done. That society has shut us down to the possibility that there is something, truly beyond the self, that there is something beyond the brain, that there is something beyond psychology, that there is something beyond these experiences, that, really we can experience things that science has not been able to understand or define or classify, that a world, an entire cosmos exists, multiple dimensions exist beyond what science can classify, measure, observe, that there are worlds that we cannot observe with our ordinary senses, that these are well documented in Hindu literature. And I have been reading about ancient Hindu astronomy and cosmology and things like this, that there are worlds that we cannot perceive with our brains. Psychedelics happen in your brain. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you are under the illusion that somehow you are having some other experience, but what happens with psychedelics is your brain function just kind of gone off. Let me get you the mountains over here. So yeah, that what happens with psychedelics is that your brain is just operating in a non-ordinary manner, and you're having a non-ordinary experience. I think I like the beach better. You're having a non-ordinary experience, but it is not a spiritual experience. And I am sorry if you are so unfamiliar with spiritual experiences that you mistake that for a spiritual experience. But let me tell you, come study in India with my guru and experience these things without psychedelics. Have a real spiritual experience, have a real sense of, reality, that, ego death does not happen. But, the self that is bound to this world, it gets, loose, and it starts to melt. And, you feel union, you feel connection, but you're still very grounded and present in the body and in the world. That, even in states of enlightenment and samadhi, your body still exists. You don't want to get out of your body and fly away until you are dead. You want to be able to experience the world, your body, and the reality that you are in without this illusion, without this film over your eyes. You want to experience it clearly and fully, and you want to let go of the things that bind you to these illusions that you have. Things like your different types of identities, your identity, for gender, your identity for, your name, your identity with your family, your relationships. You want to stop having mood swings. You want to stop having, these hormonal fluctuations. So you stop with sexual activity and masturbation because those stimulate hormones in a way that create mood swings that you are trying to stop having. You start to just relate to the world in a way that is so pure and so real, and your sense of self shifts in a way that is not described by the term ego death, and that is not described by the psychedelic experience. And when you start to get, to levels of, the nirvikalpa samadhi happens when you start using the third eye, that you have such a different sense of connection to the world that does not include, the psychedelic concept of ego death. That it's just so very, very different. And when you get to enlightenment, even then, you're not, letting go of your body. You're very present in your body. It's so different. It's so different. So don't come to me talking about ego death and wanting ego death because I cannot help you there. Go find some drug dealer or something and leave me alone because I'm not doing it. No, don't. This is different. This is very, very different. If that's what you're into, go elsewhere. Me, I am having my, profound third eye connections with the ocean as a being, and, feeling oneness with the ocean as I'm standing there. And, even here now, I have my third eye kind of flipped on, and it's just like this connection that I'm having with the air. It's a little windy up here. I'm sure you can hear it in the microphone. You can see my clothes. I'm like, the breath and the air up here, it's yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting connection between the air. I can see the air and I can feel it, and I know it's in me and a part of me, but also I can see just the distance, just this enormous sea of air. And the air, the atmosphere, it's also like, it's a being, it's different from the ocean. It's a very different type of being from the ocean. There's a very, very different mood to it. It is connected to us, and it's like, it's part of what... Okay, I'm going off. I'm sorry. This is, it's getting deep. I don't think I can talk anymore. I'm sorry. Okay, the end.